Okay, y'all. So there has been a lot going on since this morning. Um, Apparently, there's been a second assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, allegedly. Well, that's what the FBI is claiming, that there's been a second assassination attempt, and they managed to get the suspect in custody and get an AK-47 rifle this time around. So, um, I guess they're going, since he's alive, they can get the backstory on him if he talks, to see just what his deal is. I'm just wondering, who is this? Is this somebody who was contracted through Iran? Because Iran wants Trump. But yeah, they said Iran is trying to contract people over here and in Canada to try to carry out assassinations over here for anybody that they have targeted or who opposes them or whatever. So if this guy talks, and they probably will torture him to where he talks and says something, well, we don't know, but he may be a lone wolf, and he may be somebody that has been he may be somebody that was contracted to put the hit out on Trump or whatever, and then it could be staged. I mean, we don't know. We'll get to the bottom of it. But he was near Mar-a-Lago. They said he had a shootout with the Secret Service, and they caught him. So that's a good thing they caught him. But then again, it says that there's going to be many attempts on the Antichrist's life that won't be successful because God is going to take the Antichrist out. So they can try all they want, but that's something reserved only for God. God's going to do that if he really is, in fact, the man of lawlessness, like I think he is. The man of sin, the man of lawlessness. Who I think he is. Because all details are pointing to him to be that person. I could be wrong. But yeah. Second attempt on Donald Trump's life earlier today. But anyway, yeah, these people, they are really losing it. Speaking of Trump, he tweeted that he hated Taylor Swift because Taylor has formally endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. Probably because of what Trump and Vance have been talking about with all these cats and Haitians eating cats and crazy, what do they call it, childless cat ladies and all that stuff. And we know that Taylor loves her cats. So that might be the thing that kind of pushed her on over to Kamala's side. So she's come out and she's publicly endorsed Trump, and Trump said he hates her, because she did that. But you know what? Hey, Trump said that because with Taylor Swift's influence, which I don't think no celebrities really should be influencing elections at all, but or politics at all. They should have no influence on politics at all. But unfortunately, that's just the reality that we live in this society. And Taylor may have handed Kamala the election. She may have cost Trump the election because Taylor has she has millions and millions of fans. And a lot of them may be teenagers, but a lot of them are also voting age because there are a lot of adult Swifties that are registered to vote. And then she tweeted and told them to register to vote. So we live in such a herd, sheep mentality out here, and we let celebrities influence, not we, but this country, is big on letting celebrities influence them. So Taylor may have won this election for Kamala. So we'll see if there's an election in November. Because with the stunts that they're pulling now, I don't know. Might not even be an election come November. But yeah. That's why he said he hated Taylor after she did that, because Taylor messed around and gave Kamala 20 million votes. But in more in sadder news today, or was it yesterday? I think it was earlier today. A boat in Nigeria Was it Nigeria? Yes, in Nigeria. 2 boats in Nigeria capsized today, killing dozens of farmers who rely on boats to go to their farmland in this particular area in Nigeria. It's in northwest Nigeria. It's called the Gumi area, Gumi, Gummi, in Nigeria. So these boats were filled to capacity. They were too full. They were overloaded. And one of the boats had broken, because the boats were made of wood. One of the boats had broke and was sinking. And another boat went out to save that boat and ended up crashing into the boat. So both of the boats sank. And so they said as many as more than 40 people, 40 farmers have died. And they're still trying to find more bodies down in the water because both boats went down. And they said only about 12 people were saved out of all the people in the boats. So in that area, the reason why is because that area too, Gumi in northwest Nigeria, has been experiencing catastrophic flooding. Flooding strikes again. But yeah, that's sad. Man, Nigeria has been getting tore up. So ain't no telling how many more bodies they're gonna pull up out of that water. That happened today. Then also, now the Proud Boys. They're saying the Proud Boys and popped up in Springfield, Ohio, because Trump been talking about, these Haitian immigrants are taking over Springfield, Ohio, and eating people's pets and kidnapping geese and things like that, and stealing geese, so that, the Proud Boys, they're pro-Trump, and Trump has a lot of influence over these right-wing wingnuts. So they're up there now marching in Springfield, Ohio. I seen a video on Twitter. It looked like there's about 20 of them with flags and Trump, promo items and stuff up there. Look like they're marching in the streets. And then they said the KKK is going to collaborate with them. So we'll see how that goes. But they went up there. They went up there to confront Haitian migrants. But where's all that smoke for these Venezuelan gangs? Where's all that smoke in Aurora? They up there in Ohio confronting those Haitians. But they ain't did nothing to the Venezuelan gangs that's allegedly taking over, not allegedly, they are taking over apartment buildings in El Paso and Aurora and all these other places in several states. Where's all that smoke that these KKKs and Proud Boys and all these rogue cops, trigger-happy cops, where's all that smoke for them? It ain't none. I don't see it. Now, they only got smoke for African Americans and defenseless African American women and men, and people in their house experiencing mental distress with pots of water in their hand. Harmless, defenseless people going through terrible time and calling them for, that's the smoke they got for. People, black women laying in the bed asleep. They got smoke for them. Black women with pots of water in their hand and people like that. That's the smoke they got. I don't see it for the Venezuelan gangs. Because, them Venezuelan gangs probably are working in coordination with the cartels down there in Mexico. That's what I think. I think it's some sleeper cell stuff going on. Because they just detained some Americans down there in Venezuela who tried to overthrow that Venezuelan president. So it's something, I think all this stuff is related. And then all these Venezuelan gangs are up here saying that they have been instructed to shoot at police, fight police, and committing all these crimes and stuff, over here within our borders. So it's some type of correlation between all of this, you know, I think. Where's all this smoke? Hells Angels, Proud Boys, all you right-wing Ku Klux Klan neo-Nazis and stuff. Where's all this smoke for them Venezuelan gangs that y'all have for us? Where's all that smoke? Y'all ain't got the same smoke for them. What else? We talked about the vote in Nigeria. Trump. What else is going on? Oh yeah, and false prophet news. The Pope is for some reason Pope Francis is all in American business or whatever, but I guess there's a lot of Catholics over here, so I guess he's advising them on who to vote for. So he's telling them to vote for the lesser of two evils. So either way it goes, he's supporting evil. But also, he said he praised China because he's on some type of tour over in Asia, in India, and he praised China and said China has hope for the church, the Catholic Church, not the Christian church, the Catholic Church, because this is the same China that banned Bibles and rewrote the Bible, calling Jesus a sinner, that is persecuting Christians. Same China, same atheist China that this Pope is praising. I told y'all that Pope ain't nothing but a false prophet. All he worried about all that other stuff. Tell him to take one of them. I got advice for the Pope. Why don't you take some of that artwork that you got in the Vatican and sell some of that artwork that costs hundreds of millions of dollars and settle some of these lawsuits over here in America, since you're so concerned about what's going on in America. Settle the lawsuit that just came out that the New Orleans archdiocese in New Orleans has offered pennies on a dollar to 500 defendants who said they were molested by Catholic clergy at that archdiocese. 500 plaintiffs, I said defendants, 500 plaintiffs said that they were molested as children by Catholic clergy, and they sued them for over $1 billion. And so they only offered to settle the suit. The Catholic Church only offered to settle the suit for $62 million. That's pennies on a dollar. $62 million. They suing for $1 billion, and they want to settle for $62 million for 500 plaintiffs whose lives y'all done ruined. So why the Pope's so concerned? Tell him to take some of that artwork in the Vatican and sell that to settle that lawsuit with those plaintiffs. Because I know the Vatican's sitting on billions. You're so concerned and you're so pious. Why don't you take some of that money that you got sitting up in the Vatican and settle some of those claims for those plaintiffs whose lives have been ruined because they were molested as children. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff. That's the false prophet news for tonight. The Pope ain't that Catholic Church, man, whatever. I ain't got nothing but. They're not Christian at the end of the day. That's all I got to say about that. But yeah, it's a lot going on, man. I'm just sitting back and just watching everything. But yeah, I gotta go and get some stuff from the grocery store before it gets too dark. Yeah. All right, y'all. Anything else happens, I will be back. All right, I'll post the news stories up when I get home. Yeah, there's a lot going on. All right, y'all. Peace.
Joining me right now, we have NBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. And Ken, we have been using some of your posted remarks here in our internal news system here at NBC News. But give me a sense of what you know and what you can confirm of the incident that took place a little over 2 hours ago on the Trump International Golf Course.
Good afternoon, Alex. Multiple law enforcement officials are telling NBC News that the Secret Service fired shots at a man with a gun pointing in the direction of the golf course. This person was outside the boundaries of the golf course. The law enforcement has now recovered an assault-style, AR-style rifle. This man is in custody. No one has yet told us they have confirmed that this person was intending to harm Donald Trump. But obviously the Secret Service perceived a threat, fired shots. It's unclear whether this person was hit, but he is alive and in custody, we are told. And again, with an AR-style rifle outside of that golf course. It's unclear whether he was even in a position, if he was targeting Trump, to successfully take a shot at Mr. Trump. But clearly, again, the Secret Service perceived a threat, fired shots at this individual, and then he was taken into custody. So that's what we know. It's frustratingly vague in terms of the ultimate motive of this person, but he is in custody. So my law enforcement sources are telling me that they believe they will know soon exactly what this was and what the motive was here, Alex.
Yeah, and part of this may become even more clear in about 25 minutes or so when we are expecting a Martin County Sheriff briefing there. We are told that there will be a press conference at about 4:30 p.m. And also we're being told also that a portion of I-95 North has also been shut down as the investigation is ongoing. Ken, are you familiar? I believe Frank Figliuzzi was describing to us the location. It's not too far from the Palm Beach Airport, we are told. PBI, or the airport initials there. So I would assume that I-95 is a bordering area there. I'm looking at this map. It would seem that that's not too far away. So shutting down part of I-95, that is not done haphazardly or lightly. So if that indeed is happening as well, what does that tell you about the scope here of this investigation?
Well, it's another sign and signal that this is a very serious incident, you know, along with the fact that the Attorney General, I just reported in the last few minutes, has been briefed and is monitoring the situation. So all of these signs and signals are pointing to the fact that this is a big deal. Clearly, the closure of I-95 is not done lightly, and obviously one of the purposes behind that would be to canvass the area to make sure that this person was acting alone, or whether there were any co-conspirators, or what this was, in fact. So obviously, if this was just an innocent situation, a mistake, or an over-exuberance on the part of the Secret Service, they would know that pretty quickly, and that's not the indication we're getting by things like the closure of I-95, the Attorney General being briefed. This is a very, very serious situation, Alex.
Yeah, 100%. And let me just correct myself. We are getting conflicting information, I am, but it would stand to reason that it's actually Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office that will be having that media availability, that news conference at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, not Martin County Sheriff, though they are releasing some statements as well.
Donald Trump is taking aim at Taylor Swift days after she publicly endorses Vice President Kamala Harris for president. In a post on his Truth Social network, the former president writes in all caps, quote, "I hate Taylor Swift," without context or explanation. Liz Cheney, the Republican former congressional representative who is backing Harris, quotes his comment and writes on X, formerly Twitter, "Says the smallest man who ever lived," referencing a track from Taylor's most recent album, The Tortured Poets Department. It's not the first time the former president is publicly speaking against the 14-time Grammy Award-winning singer. Taylor broke her silence about the upcoming U.S. presidential election following a televised debate between the two candidates on September 10th. The global superstar writes at the time in the caption of an Instagram post, quote, "Like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you the most." She continues, quote, "As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about their proposed policies and plans for this country." According to Taylor, she will be voting for Kamala and her running mate Tim Walz because, quote, "She fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them." Shortly after Taylor endorses the Democratic candidate, the former president shares his thoughts about her announcement by comparing her to Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany Mahomes. Brittany made headlines in recent weeks for publicly supporting Donald Trump by liking several posts on social media regarding the presidential candidate. Donald Trump says this while calling into Fox News on September 11th.
out of nowhere, after the debate last night, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. What do you think?
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. She couldn't. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it at in the marketplace. But no, I like Brittany. I think Brittany's great. Brittany got a lot of news last week. She's a big MAGA fan. That's the one I like much better than Taylor Swift.
I bet you didn't know that tragedy can strike twice in the same place. Well, that's the heartbreaking reality in northwest Nigeria today. In Zamfara State, a wooden boat carrying 70 farmers capsized on a river near Gumi town. Local authorities acted quickly, launching a rescue operation that saved 6 survivors after 3 exhausting hours. Aminu Nuhu Falale, the local administrator who led the rescue efforts, confirmed that this is the second such incident in the Gumi local government area. Residents are now anxiously waiting as emergency teams intensify their search for more survivors. The local traditional ruler pointed out that more than 900 farmers rely on crossing this river daily to reach their farmlands, but overcrowding is inevitable with only 2 boats available. Compounding the tragedy, Zamfara State is also grappling with the dual threats of criminal gangs and severe flooding. Just 2 weeks ago, floods displaced over 10,000 residents, adding to the region's woes. Our hearts go out to the families and communities affected by this tragic event. Stay tuned for updates as the story unfolds.
A notorious Venezuelan gang has quickly expanded its criminal operations into the United States, raising alarms among U.S. law enforcement officials. Originally known for its brutal tactics in Latin America, the Tren de Aragua gang is now implicated in roughly 100 criminal cases across the U.S. U.S. Homeland Security officials report the gang has rapidly expanded its presence, from initial sightings in Texas to other regions across the U.S. Once thought to be limited to Latin America, where it was known for brutal tactics and extensive criminal networks, Tren de Aragua has evolved into a significant transnational threat, a growing concern for U.S. law enforcement. Originating in a Venezuelan prison, the gang rose to power, operating unusual luxuries like a zoo and disco within the prison walls. In less than a decade, it evolved into a major transnational crime organization where its members engages in illicit activities like drug trafficking, robbery, and extortion, specifically preying on vulnerable immigrant communities. The group has made headlines for high-profile crimes, such as shootings and the targeting of police officers, bringing its brutal brand of violence more into public awareness in the U.S. Tren de Aragua's presence in the U.S. has sparked fears that it could replicate the disruption it caused in Latin America, posing significant challenges to law enforcement with its seemingly sophisticated criminal tactics. Members of the gang have been linked to high-profile crimes, such as the shooting of 2 NYPD officers and the murder of a former Venezuelan police officer in South Florida. In response to the escalating threat, the U.S. Treasury Department imposed sanctions on the gang in July, while the State Department has offered rewards totaling up to $12 million for information leading to the arrest of the gang's leaders. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Lauren Taylor. For more of our unbiased straight fact reporting, download the Straight Arrow News app or visit san.com.
Aragua. You just published this. The New York Post reads in part, Jenny, 2 suspected Tren de Aragua gang members busted in connection with an attempted murder in the migrant hotbed of Aurora, Colorado, have been released from custody. They were released into the United States, and now they've been released from custody. It just goes on and on. There are so many protections for the people who are here illegally, Jenny.
Absolutely. From the start, they were released into the United States, but it took, crimes in the United States, which was allegedly helping to cover up this shooting that happened in Aurora, Colorado, and they basically got away with it because their bond was so low. It was $1,000 each. What does that tell you about the jurisdictions in those areas? Well, the sanctuary laws are playing a huge role, and the fact that judges and the jurisdictions making these decisions on bonds don't consider these people a flight risk is kind of minimizing what's actually happening here, which these people don't have ties to the community. They just came to the United States. That should automatically qualify them for a higher bond, and it didn't in this case. Yep. And they were let go before ICE could issue or ICE could get them. They didn't notify ICE. They totally flouted their detainer.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. I mean, it happens a lot, and they qualify for these releases a lot. Jenny Taylor, great to have you on the show as always. Thank you. Turning now to the presidential race, President Trump spoke from Battleground, North Carolina.
Io sono contento dei dialoghi con la Cina. Il risultato è buono. Anche per la nomina dei vescovi si lavora con buona volontà. Un'altra cosa è la Cina. La Cina per me è una illusione, nel senso che io vorrei visitare la Cina, è un grande paese, io ammiro la Cina, rispetto la Cina, è un paese di una cultura millenaria, di una capacità di dialogo, di capirsi fra loro, che va oltre i diversi sistemi democratici che ha avuto. Credo che la Cina è una promessa e una speranza per la Chiesa.
Turning now to some breaking news tonight. For the first time in 4.5 years, a formal offer is on the table to settle more than 500 child sexual abuse claims against the Archdiocese of New Orleans.
WWL investigator David Hammer and our partner Ramon Vargas at the Guardian newspaper broke this major story online. And here's David with the details.
A committee representing more than 500 clergy abuse claimants made the first offer for a settlement in the church's long-running bankruptcy case. They want the Archdiocese, its affiliated churches and schools, and their insurers to pay the largest bankruptcy settlement by a Catholic diocese ever, a combined $1 billion. They are asking insurance companies to pay the vast majority of that, about $800 million. They want the Archdiocese to pay $84 million, and they're asking the apostolates, that's 188 parishes, schools, and church-owned businesses, to chip in $133 million. Abuse survivor and former creditors committee member James Adams says it's only fair.
When Archbishop Aymond filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, he had issued that letter to the Vatican stating that insurance would be covering the vast majority of it. And even just a year ago, he had mentioned that insurance in another letter, when he was talking about the contributions of the apostolates, the parishes, and the schools, that that insurance companies would still be carrying the vast majority of it. So I'm looking at this as it's a very reasonable request.
Now, in the last hour, the church just filed its settlement proposal, and it offers $50 million from the Archdiocese and $12.5 million from the affiliates. Nothing additional from the insurers. That works out to $125,000 per claimant, far short of the $2 million per claim the survivors are seeking.
All right, thanks, David. Archbishop Aymond just put out a letter to parishioners calling the competing settlement offers a milestone in the process. He also pledged to take actions to make sure that churches and ministries are safe places.